Hello, it's Kit Allowitz with another Leadership Journey video segment. Today I want to talk about one of Henry David Thoreau's often quoted lines from his book Walden. For every 1,000 hackings at the branches of evil, there is one striking at the root. Now the full quote is a little bit longer and likely speaks to Thoreau's ideology on philanthropy, and yet if you'll allow me just a tiny little liberty, just for a handful of minutes on this video, I want to take the 18 words from his quote and speak to it as it relates to leadership and self-discovery. Additionally, it's perhaps a fascinating quote for each of us to chew on as it relates to our own leadership journey. It potentially suggests that there is a temptation, perhaps even a reality, that if we don't pay close attention and in fact really want it and understand it and what it is we're working on, that our efforts may just be hacking at the issues or the leaves, but never get to the root cause or the solution, that being the roots. Now, I see this in my own journey, both professionally and personally. So let me speak personally. The classic one for me personally, Kit Allowitz, is one of weight management, staying trim, being able to finish strong the endurance races that I'm in, and keeping my bad cholesterol down, the ADL. It seems that I am super tempted to just hack at the leaves of the reality of turning 50, as it seems like everything's getting harder. It's getting harder to eat right, sleep right, not weigh myself every day, avoid sugar that I love, and stay balanced. I'll even hack at the leaves of a well-balanced eating regimen by just trying to take fiber as a way to replace having to take wise intakes of food that, if I'm not careful, can easily skyrocket my ADL. And if you haven't picked up on it so far, I have an ADL problem trying to keep that bad cholesterol down. Now on the professional side, I have also been hacking at leaves, maybe other leaves, but these kind of leaves have to do with having the vision, the patience, the tenacity to better learn electronic solutions that are available to all of us that would actually make my life more efficient and more effective. And yet, what do I do again and again when I get in that situation where I could use technology and just slow down and try to be more efficient and effective using technology? When I get a pinch, I pull the chicken switch and I call Michael Robinson or the Kieran Allowitz factor, the wizards of all things technical. I often think, what would I do without Michael Robinson and or Kieran Allowitz? Well, for one, if I didn't chicken out and call them most of the time, I'd be forced to hack at the root of my conundrum where I'm tempted to just not really learn it and get to the root of the issue. I'd also broaden my own journey of self-discovery and become a wiser person. So, you and I are on a journey of self-discovery. That's our lifelong adventure. And for me, it's hard. It's been challenging in lots of different ways. And how about for you? As you remember, 3 years ago, our leadership journey began, and we began the journey by conducting a kind of an intriguing, somewhat difficult exercise to try to identify what our own tacit underlying assumptions are. Now, this was actually fairly hard for me. And I say that because it's a bit of an oxymoron. An oxymoron is, in fact, a figure of speech in which apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction. Now, I say that because the term tacit underlying assumptions is generally defined as assumptions made based on personal life experiences that are not consciously apparent to us. Not consciously apparent. Well, then how could we do the exercise? Now, these assumptions can be the source of all sorts of apparent paradoxes that we might have, misunderstandings, resistance to change that we have in this whole area of the human organizational behavior. So it can mess with us. So how do you describe, detect, identify something that isn't likely consciously apparent to us? That was the fun part of the exercise to try to get down. Now, I have to say, it was fascinating exercise for me to start chewing on what I think and maybe what you think, but don't know you think, and finally a chance for you to think about what you know for sure you know yet you don't think about. Wow, try to say that 3 times. Irregardless, it was an interesting exercise to try to complete. I discovered, or I should say I started, or I was able to state things that I already maybe sort of kind of knew, but was maybe hesitant to state or put on paper. ways of seeing the world that in fact are getting in the way of what I say that I really want. So does that mean I indeed truly want them? If they're somewhat apparent to me, I was able to list them, but then I haven't done anything about them. One of the things that I also say that I want to be found guilty of in this life is putting relationships in front of or over tasks. Relationships before tasks versus the other way around. And yet I find that I would be found guilty more often than not than just hacking at the leaves of this conundrum, rather than really figuring out how do I get to the root of putting people first, tasks second. This is perhaps one reason I really like Henry David's quote where he says, "For every 1,000 hackings at the leaves of evil, there's one striking at the root." I want to get to the root. At least I say I do. Getting to the root cause, to stop just nibbling around the edges of sorting through the leaves and branches, it takes hard work. As you already know, it's a quadrant 2 activity. Take, for example, the journey of self-discovery. It's something that we're involved in, but what are we actually saying when we say that? Well, for me, I'm saying I want to truly create a chance for myself to discover or uncover and sort through or between what I think reality is and what it actually is. I love the Anais Nin quote. She was a 20th century writer and novelist. She said, "We don't see things as they are, we see them as they are, or as we are." And then to add on to that, and therein lies the problem. Perhaps the temptation to just hack at the leaves of what is versus what we think is, it is in fact very strong. So I got a couple questions for you. First one, what do we have to do to get to the root and stop just hacking at the leaves? Another question, what leadership development, personal behaviors do you, and me too, do that are akin to attacking just the branches of the challenges we face, but never get to the root cause or the dilemma? Another question, how much of what you, and me too, do it is merely provided as a dressing to the wound? Perhaps we're afraid of cleaning the wound because it would be too painful or too much work. Well, that's for you to figure out. That's for me to figure out. So my powerful emotional close of this video draws on Thoreau's deep, genuine interest in life, but particularly in human beings that he encountered, and my invitation to you and myself to do the same. In fact, I read one particular commentary on Thoreau, and it described him as intensely wanting to understand others. And it used the analogy that says, he used to say, "Give me not the stems and leaves of humans, but the flowers and the fruits of humans." I love that. Perhaps that's why he is said to have said when he encountered those that he loved and friends that he had, "What's clear to you since the last time we met?" rather than, "Hey, what's going on?" or "How are you?" He wanted to know. He wanted to understand. And I love what we learned from Dr. Matthew Chodkowski, that human relations is not you dealing with others. It is in fact you dealing with yourself, dealing with others. Can we know others if we have not paid the price of self-discovery? That's what I know, and that's what I'm passing on to you today. I'm Kit Allowitz, and we'll see you next time.